Another site photo. You see the fountain, foreground, mid-ground left, and the tower that you can see above the construction fences there, the Carthay Circle Theater. And I want you to know that the Carthay Circle Theater is something that Coulter worked very hard on. I mean, he worked very, very hard with his team developing this design and coming up with.
I had to sell it to project management first.
Yeah. And
well, you know, that's
another story. That's another story. But when you're coming up with a building that really serves as the linchpin of the hub and the focal point of Main Street, that carries a lot of weight. And it carries a lot of weight in terms of being a lightning rod for comments and suggestions. And I think Coulter's done a masterful job of creating this edifice and really giving our park something that we can be very, very proud of.
One thing this slide shows pretty well, this is the existing Hollywood, portals here. But what's really happening in a nice way is this little wall over here is part of the pump house, and as well as the red car stop for the hub, that is actually part of the Carthay architecture. So now we have our own little portal to down El Camino Real. As you go through the hub and find your way down to the boardwalk or Cars Land, there's a nice little subtle portal we created.
Yeah, the beauty of that is the pump house will also serve as a red car stop. So our trolley will the north end is, north station is at Buena Vista Street, right at the turnstiles. The next stop down the line is at Carthay Circle, where this pump house is. We're going to have a stop in front of the animation building on Hollywood Boulevard. And then the southernmost stop is down by Tower of Terror on Sunset Boulevard. So we have 4 stops, 2 trolleys running in opposite directions. So it's sort of like the horse-drawn trolley on Main Street. We've got a bypass, so the 2 cars will pass each other on Hollywood Boulevard there.
You can already see the tracks in.
And to Coulter's point, now in the what was the existing California Adventure hub, when you look south toward Paradise Pier, you could see the big tank at the tortilla factory. You could see the fruit stand that was down there by Bodine. You could see Paradise Pier. Here, when you look down the throat from the fountain to the rear of the park, we've got a visual block now. So you see a bunch of trees and you see the street winding down. But again, we've created another barrier so that we don't have this kind of these overlapping lands that keep us from having a sense of immersion in the place where you would be currently standing. So we've solved that problem as well by creating this pump house at Carthay. Carthay Circle Theater, it's at the corner of the hub. I mean, I'm sure most of you have seen this rendering. What I will say about it now is that currently it's going to be the home of a high-end restaurant and lounge, and that will again serve as the focal point of Buena Vista Street. Any other comments?
It's going to be a great place to watch the parades from the terraces. The parade route's being redone, and previously the stepping off point for the parade had been from behind Bugs Life Theater and coming around Sunshine Plaza and then proceeding out towards the boardwalk and pier area. Now it's going to be starting at Tower of Terror, coming down Sunset Boulevard, making a turn on Hollywood Boulevard, and coming through our hub between the fountain and Carthay, and then going back on the same path that it was previously. But that's going to create some great opportunities for viewing the parade on those terraces.
If you look at the rendering here, that building occupies the southeast corner of the hub, the southeast quadrant. The southwest quadrant is the pump house. The northwest quadrant is Fiddler, Fifer, and Practical. And the northeast quadrant will be a park, but that will also be the home of the new Walton Mickey statue. If you look at the little study model that's on display here, you'll see that the Walt and Mickey statue is at the front of Buena Vista Street by the flagpole. It's an early model. Since then, we've moved it back to the hub here, and we're going to have an unobstructed view of the statue here. And there's the Carthay Circle.
One thing, and one thing I wanted to really reiterate is the Carthay Circle Theater does have, I think, a huge emotional impact, certainly to all of us Imagineering, because of its significance in Walt's life. And as you know, when Snow White premiered there back in 1937, Walt had literally gambled everything on, on this one motion picture premiere, and he was quite nervous. Up until then, people had never really imagined that an animated film could be a theatrical production. They were usually, at the beginning of other movies. And the night, I can only imagine the night that he and Lillian were there at the premiere with the very first audience, watching Snow White for the very first time, and then of course, the reaction afterward made Disney who he was, or at least it furthered that. That's why we're all sitting up here today, and actually that's why all of you are here today. That one moment in time, you can certainly pick many moments in Walt's life that are very significant, but this particular one I think was certainly significant, and that's the homage that we want to pay, which was, that ability for him to show animated films to the world and have them embrace them as a medium and say, you're part of our life. And then from there, this whole Magic Kingdom, was raised.
Here's a man who risked everything and pioneered so many things. Pioneered the first sound cartoon, the first color cartoon. And then this animated feature that was Walt's Folly, gambling everything.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge risk, a huge gamble, and I think to pay that off and to pay that moment off with the building that film premiered, this world premiere, as well as Skeleton Dance was in that same building. So it has a Disney history. Also, it was one of 14 theaters that had Fantasound installed when Fantasia premiered. So Walt Disney had a long-standing relationship with this theater, and we felt it was a fitting edifice to create. Here's the fly-through. You may have seen this in Tom Stagg's presentation yesterday, but we felt it was important to show it again. Up and around. And let's see. Ooh, there we go. Coulter worked long and hard on this.
This is just an early sort of dissolve fly-through to show what the opportunities were for this facility in terms of how dynamic it was, in terms of its location in the street, and multiple levels of things that could happen here.
Yeah, to Coulter's point, the terraces will have premiere opportunities for parade viewing, and you can actually see the fireworks from Disneyland from the North Terrace. So we feel this is really going to be a great facility for us. The premiere of Snow White, Walt's arrival, partner statue in Disneyland. If you look at this statue, it's very monumental. This is Walt wearing a suit, as many of us know him as the more accomplished older Walt, sort of giving us this park with Mickey next to him. On the pedestal in the planter, it's very monumental. Our Walt and Mickey statue at California Adventure is a little different because it's going to represent a young Walt Disney as he may have arrived in 1923. Although this is kind of an amalgam, the statue that we've designed. It's Walt and Mickey. It's Walt with a suitcase and Mickey with a suitcase. So the traveling metaphor and the arrival metaphor is there. He's wearing a fedora. However, Mickey's with him, so Mickey may be his muse. This is sort of a metaphor, and the interesting thing about this statue is that we're placing him on the ground, on the sidewalk with all of our guests, so that the metaphor is that if Walt Disney came to California to fulfill his dreams, he's just like the rest of us who have come to the park to live their dreams or come to California to live our dreams. He's one of us and we're one of him. So we didn't feel, with that story in mind, it would be appropriate to put him up on a pedestal as a monument. We want this person to be a living, breathing person who really is part of our world. So that's what we've done. And here's a couple of early concept sketches. There's a little detail. Here we go with some sculpting. We've got Marty, Rick Terry, some of the others there that were instrumental in developing that. And I have to apologize for this crazy slide thing because once I press the button, it starts going through this routine. So you see my Jesus. They warned me this would happen too, so. So let me just let it play out. There it goes.
Get it quick.
Yeah, they get it quick. There's some sketches, Marty, Melissa, that's the maquette. Now the maquette is what the artist creates before they do the full-size sculpt. And the maquette is very accurate to the finished piece, although it's not exactly the finished piece because at a smaller scale, you can only get so much detail. But it is very accurate, and it is the piece that the artist uses to create the finished piece. We got a very talented sculptor working on this, somebody who was a protege of Blaine Gibson for 30 years and has worked on the partner statue. And we're very, very fortunate to have him have worked on this. I guess I'd like to ask you guys a question now. We do have the maquette here, and I was wondering if anybody here would like to see it. Again, this isn't a full size.
Do you really want to see it? I didn't really.
And I have to throw this in. I hope this isn't the wrong thing to say. I have seen the full-size sculpt, and it's brought tears to my eyes. And so I think this is something that is going to be very special at this park. And I would be happy to, if you'd like, lift the veil off of the sculpt, and you can take a look at it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
It's truly amazing. So this is the maquette that you saw in the photographs, and that's what went into the full-size sculpt. So.
And when I say it was an amalgam, it is an amalgam. I mean, if you were to take a Walt Disney at a certain time and freeze that moment, this may not be it because we've got, as I said, we've got Walt, we've got Mickey, we've got the suitcase with the graphics on it, and you know, some of these things are bits and pieces from life, but really, I implore you, when the actual full-size sculpture is unveiled at California Adventure, please take a look at it carefully because it's got a lot of great detail and a lot of great storytelling, and I think it pays homage to a wonderful man with a wonderful life, and all I can do is just thank him for being who he was and who he was to us. So thank you very much. I think that's...